Yeah.
ওং নমো ভগবতে রামকৃষ্ণায়। আমরা যে খুশি that Professor Saurabh Pal, Director ISER, and Professor T.N. Pan, Vishwa Bharati University, they are there with us to enlighten us on national education policy. এই জাতীয় শিক্ষানীতি নিয়ে আমাদের বিপুল কৌতূহল, আমাদের আসলে জানার আগ্রহ অনেক বেশি। এটা ভালো মন্দ নিয়ে বিচার করা এই মুহূর্তে হয়তো অতটা প্রয়োজন আমাদের নেই, কিন্তু কতখানি র্যাডিক্যাল চেঞ্জ আসতে পারে বিভিন্ন the dimensions and degrees of different existing parameters that the new education policy is going to bring in, এই ব্যাপারে আমাদের দুজন বিদগ্ধ বক্তা আলোকপাত করবেন, এটা আমাদের সুনির্বন্ধ অনুরোধ। আমাদের ডিসকাশন যদি একটু বাইলিঙ্গুয়াল মোডে হয় তাহলে বোধহয় সুবিধা হয়, বিকজ সাম অফ দি ভিউয়ার্স মাইট বি ভার্সেন্ট ইন ইংলিশ, আর আমাদের পক্ষে অনেকের পক্ষে হয়তো বাংলাতে সংলাপ করলে সুবিধা হবে। আর আমাদের মধ্যে অধ্যাপক অরিন্দম রায়, আমাদের শিক্ষক সংসদের সম্পাদক মহাশয়, তিনি উপস্থিত আছেন। সংক্ষেপে তাকে দু এক কথা বলার জন্য অনুরোধ করছি।
আমাদের শ্রদ্ধেয় মহারাজকে ধন্যবাদ। আমি ধন্যবাদ জানাই আজকের যারা স্পিকার, প্রফেসর সৌরভ পাল স্যার, আইজার কলকাতা ডিরেক্টর, এবং আমি ধন্যবাদ জানাই প্রফেসর টি.এন. পান স্যারকে, স্যার বিশ্বভারতী ইউনিভার্সিটিতে রয়েছেন। আজকের ওয়েবিনার ন্যাশনাল এডুকেশন পলিসি এনইপি 2020 একটি খুব উল্লেখযোগ্য এবং খুব দরকারি একটি ওয়েবিনার। আমরা সকলেই এই ওয়েবিনারটির জন্য অনেকদিন ধরেই অপেক্ষা করে রয়েছি, এই কারণে যে ভারতবর্ষের শিক্ষা ব্যবস্থায় যে একটা র্যাডিক্যাল চেঞ্জ আসতে চলেছে, এই চেঞ্জগুলো আসলে কি এটা নিয়ে সম্যক ধারণা আমাদের নেই। অনেক পাতার নিশ্চয়ই অনেক কিছু রয়েছে ইন্টারনেটে, কিন্তু আমরা খুব ভালো করে সেটা পড়ে অনুধাবন করার চেষ্টা সবাই কখনো একসাথে করে উঠতে পারিনি। আমরা নিশ্চয়ই আজকে আপনাদের আলোচনা থেকে নিউ এডুকেশন পলিসির যে বিভিন্ন ফেজেস গুলো রয়েছে সেগুলো জানতে পারবো। এর যে কি পয়েন্টস, বিশেষ করে যে ল্যাঙ্গুয়েজ নিয়ে একদম নিচু ক্লাসে যে ডিবেটটা রয়েছে, এবং খুব কম বয়সী বাচ্চাদের ক্ষেত্রেও যে একদম এলিমেন্টারি লেভেলে 5+3+3+4 এই যে স্ট্রাকচার, সেটার ভালো দিক বা খারাপ দিক নিশ্চয়ই এগুলো নিয়ে আলোচনা হবে। তবে তার চেয়েও বেশি আমরা নিশ্চয়ই অপেক্ষা করে রয়েছি যে হায়ার এডুকেশনের উপর এই নিউ এডুকেশনাল পলিসির কি রোল, তার কি ভালো দিক থাকবে, কি খারাপ দিক থাকবে। যেমন আমরা জানি যে এমফিল উঠে যাচ্ছে, এছাড়াও যে হায়ার এডুকেশন কাউন্সিল আসতে চলেছে, এছাড়াও যে আরো অনেকগুলো বডিজ আসতে চলেছে, তাদের বিভিন্ন কাজ, তারা কি কি রোল প্লে করবে, এবং সমস্ত কিছু নিয়ে আমাদের হায়ার এডুকেশন কোন দিকে যেতে চলেছে, এবং আমরা শিক্ষক মহাশয়রা কিভাবে এর সাথে নিজেদেরকে মানিয়ে নিতে পারবো, এবং আমাদের আগামী দিনে রোল কি হবে, ভারতবর্ষ আমাদের দিক থেকে কি চাইছেন, আমরা স্টুডেন্টদেরকে কিভাবে তৈরি করতে পারবো। স্যার, আপনারা যদি এই বিষয়ে একটু বিশেষ আলোকপাত করেন, যাতে করে আমরা আরো বেশি আপনাদের কাছ থেকে এই বিষয়ে জানতে পারি, সেই স্বনির্বন্ধ অনুরোধ রইল। আপনাদের সকলকে ধন্যবাদ। অনুষ্ঠান ভালো হোক। ধন্যবাদ আপনাদের সকলকে।
So now we request Professor Saurabh Pal, Director ISER Kolkata, to deliver his speech. Incidentally, Professor Pal happens to be an ex-student of our Asansol Ramakrishna Mission School. So, Professor Pal.
Thank you. এটা কি দেখা যাচ্ছে কি?
হ্যাঁ স্যার, দেখা যাচ্ছে।
আচ্ছা, ঠিক আছে, ওকে, থ্যাংক ইউ। প্রথমে আমি ধন্যবাদ জানাচ্ছি রামকৃষ্ণ মিশন বিদ্যামন্দির বেলুরকে আমাকে ইনভাইট করার জন্য। As you can see from the title, my title will be on higher educational institution. I am actually not going to talk about the language in the school level. I hope probably the next speaker may be able to give more light. কিন্তু হায়ার এডুকেশনের ইনস্টিটিউশনে কি কি চেঞ্জ আনছে সেই ব্যাপারে আমি টক দেব। and there is a very important part that is research and innovation. I mean, I hope English is okay with most people. আপনি যদিও বললেন যে বাংলায় বলতে,
হ্যাঁ নিশ্চয়ই।
ওকে, তা প্রথমে আপনাকে আমি ধন্যবাদ জানাচ্ছি আমাকে ইনভাইট করার জন্য। এনইপির উপরে এখন অনেক টক হচ্ছে, আমি বিভিন্ন জায়গায় এনইপি টক দিচ্ছি। আমরা যেহেতু রিসার্চ অ্যান্ড ইনোভেশনে কাজ করছি আইসার কলকাতাতে, সেই জন্য রিসার্চ অ্যান্ড ইনোভেশন যে থ্রাস্ট সেইটা আমার কাছে খুব ইম্পর্টেন্ট মনে হয়েছে। সো আই উইল হাইলাইট মোস্টলি দ্যাট, বাট অলসো ফিউ আদার পয়েন্টস অফ দ্য এনইপি। This talk is about 1 hour or 45 minutes?
1 hour should be okay, sir.
Okay, কারণ আরেকজনের টক আছে সেই জন্য জিজ্ঞেস করছি। All right, so as you can see that I was formerly in National Chemical Laboratory Pune as a director,
and sir, I just forgot to mention that towards the end there will be a question answer session.
So I will try to finish in 40 minutes.
Okay.
So I was also formerly professor of IIT Bombay. I'm sorry about this error, IT, it should be IIT Bombay. And currently also I'm visiting professor in Ashoka University, apart from being director of IISER Kolkata. So I have seen many institutions in this country. I have some experience and how NEP is going to really make a change. প্রথমে বলে রাখি যে NEP যখন বলা হবে, there are many parts of NEP which are actually already there. I mean, it's not that it is completely a change of what exists. কিন্তু কি কি জায়গাতে চেঞ্জ আসবে I will try to highlight. All right, so this is just a snapshot of the 3 cities in which I have stayed: Pune, Mumbai, and now Kolkata. So I first want to introduce the ICERs. The reason I'm introducing ICERs is that ICERs were actually established as precisely the research and innovation যেটা NEP তে বারবার করে বলছে. So ICERs, when they're established, it was for fundamental science and then innovation resulting out of the fundamental science. So that is very, very important. So there are 7 ICERs. Kolkata and Pune came first, and I think we are going to celebrate our 15th anniversary. Then we have Mohali, Trivandrum, Bhopal, Tirupati, and Berhampur. So there are the 7 ICERs. Tirupati and Berhampur is the last in 2016. Eta amader ICER Kolkata campus. It's a kind of a bird's eye view of many of the buildings which have been prepared, which are now already done, including our including sir, the research company. Yes,
sir, your slide is not moving. Sir, next slide. Apni ki eschen slide ta move korche.
That's what I'm asking.
Yes, sir.
There is always some problem. Are you able to see this slide now?
Yes, sir.
So whenever I'm
yes, sir, visible, sir.
But when I'm going to this mode, it is not moving, I think. It's not moving, right?
No, sir.
So that's the problem.
Kolkata campus is showing.
Yeah, so that's if I keep it in this mode, then I can move it.
Okay, sir.
So it is full mode. I don't know why it is not moving. Then I have to stop sharing. And should I try again? Stop sharing and trying. I can stop sharing and try again. Huh?
Yes.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Present now. So I'm going to your entire screen. Can I select window or screen? Let's see. এখন কি মুভ করছে কি?
নো স্যার, আইজার কলকাতা ক্যাম্পাস এই স্লাইডটা দেখাচ্ছি।
হ্যাঁ, মুভ করছে না, সেটা কিছু একটা প্রবলেম হচ্ছে।
স্যার মে আই ইন্টারাপ্ট ইউ স্যার?
ইয়েস।
একেবারে উপরের লাইনে স্লাইড শো লেখা রয়েছে 1 2 3 4 5 নম্বর, ওই স্লাইড শোতে কার্সার নিয়ে গিয়ে ক্লিক করুন, তারপরে হচ্ছে ওই অপশনটা আসবে একেবারে উপরের লাইনে।
হ্যাঁ,
উপরে আরো ডান দিকে স্লাইড শো, ক্লিক হিয়ার। এবারে নিচের লাইনে ফর্ম বিগিনিং এখন লেফট সাইড উপরে। ইয়েস।
এখন মুভ করছে কি?
ফর্ম বিগিনিং ক্লিক করুন স্যার।
হ্যাঁ করেছি।
No, 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 no.
I know, I think I know the problem. I have to go to Google. I have to go to the browser is a problem. I think. আমি actually Mozilla থেকে করছি. So there is, I have to log in from another browser. The ওটাকে কি বলে সে গুগলের ব্রাউজার যেটা
গুগল ক্রোম থেকে স্যার।
হ্যাঁ গুগল
প্রফেসর পাল আপনি যে স্লাইডটায় ক্লিক করবেন সেটাই উঠে যাবে, কাজে কোনো নো প্রবলেম। আপনি করুন স্লাইডের উপরে ক্লিক করুন, তাহলে এটা ফাংশন করে যাবে।
না সেটা হবে, সেটা তো অটোমেটিক্যালি মুভ করছে।
না অটোমেটিক্যালি করেনি, কাজে অটোমেটিক্যালি এটাকে আপনাকে ওইভাবেই একটু এগোতে হবে।
ঠিক আছে, নো প্রবলেম। ইফ ইট ইজ অল রাইট উইথ ইউ দেন আই হ্যাভ নো প্রবলেম। আমি যেখানে যেখানে দরকার আমি বড় করে স্লাইড করে দেখাবো, ঠিক আছে? অল রাইট। So this is the ICAR Kolkata campus. So I just since we are from the science institution, and it is good for us to know why are we doing science. That is very important. So science we do because of various reasons, because it gives us the basic expertise of learning physics, chemistry, mathematics, biology, geology, etc. কিন্তু সবচেয়ে ইম্পর্টেন্ট ব্যাপার হচ্ছে যে আজকে the science that is being done, and that is a very important part of innovation, is an interdisciplinary research. And this line has come many times in NEP. If you read National Education Policy, they have been talking about interdisciplinary research in a more holistic atmosphere. And I think Ramakrishna Mission probably will appreciate this better. So that I'm going to capture a little bit. We can also do academic research and teaching. There are a lot of people who go to industry. That's what I call my research with industrial relevance. Then people can also take alternate science career. And then eventually, of course, they can have freedom and fulfillment of mind. So these are some of the important opportunities in science that আজকে যারা আমাদের এখান থেকে যারা পাস করছে, they usually go to IIT, they're ambitious to go to IIT, IISER, NIT, university, colleges as faculties, or they go to research laboratories like in NCL. I was in NCL, CSIR lab, IISc, TIFR, ISCS, etc. Then you have mission driven, which is basically atomic energy, space, defense, or industry R&D. Entrepreneurship, which is basically to do any startup. And then you have further opportunities for research and international collaboration. So people can actually go abroad, do collaboration there, or from India they can do. But a very important part among the jobs is what is entrepreneurship. So I will highlight this because this has again come in NEP many times, that one has to be entrepreneur. Entrepreneur mane hocche the person who takes the risk. An entrepreneur is a person who takes risk. That is very important. So today there is a very important part that is called startup. So startup essentially means that you can start a company yourself for which government is helping by grant, and then you can try to show that your research has some proof of, so it's basically like a proof of concept that your research can be helpful, and then industry can come in. So I will talk about this entrepreneurship, which is related to innovation very, very, very much, and invention or innovation very much. So let me first say what the National Education Policy is stating. So I'll start from this slide. So the new National Education Policy 2020, this comes with a major structural changes within the current educational system, especially in terms of research and innovation. এখন full screen দেখা যাচ্ছে তো? Hello? So I'm going back and doing, so little time it will take, but that's okay. The policy exclusively lays stress on establishing stronger research institutions. This is what I'm talking. And promoting research at the level. So many state level colleges, like Ramakrishna Mission College that you have, or the universities, there the research and development is probably not at a stage where it could be. So how do you promote more of research and development on these research institutions? That is a very important part of our study, and education policy is actually encouraging this, which is something that you all will appreciate, that this is something that we must do. So it is nothing new. So it is nothing new that the education policy is talking about. So the next part, it says that it focuses on the strategies needed to promote research and innovation across all disciplines. Promote interdisciplinary research, যেটা বললাম যে ফিজিক্স, কেমিস্ট্রি, বায়োলজি, এই যে বিভিন্ন সায়েন্স সাবজেক্টের যে ভাগ, সেই ভাগটাকে কি করে ভেঙে দেওয়া যায়, and eventually help India in becoming a global hub of R&D. R&D মানে হচ্ছে research and development. The changes suggested provide a massive push to the higher education institution and lay special emphasis on the strategies needed to promote research and innovation across all disciplines. So basically, policy has given a lot of push, so in terms of funding, and what is important is that a policy the strategy kotha bola hobe je ki kore research and innovation kora jay, because this is something that we know has not happened in many places. Although this is the stated objective of most of the research labs, but it has not happened. So one of the first thing is, of course, expenditure. So if you look at the current public expenditure on education in India, it is about 4.43% of the GDP. GDP means gross domestic product. So that value, the GDP value 4.43% is an entire expenditure on education in India. So first thing that education policy says that this should be increased to 6%. So 6% is almost 1.5% increase. And that is a huge increase, 33% increase from the current value. And that, of course, is extremely important to do anything. The expenditure on research and innovation, it is a pure education. Within that, there is a budget for research and innovation. Amader সেটাকে increase করতে হবে from 0.69% of GDP, which is the current expenditure, such that it is more or less competitive with the US, China, South Korea, etc. And this is this is only the research part. The actual education part is also very important. So both, they want to give a push by increasing the expenditure budget. So higher educational institution, যেটাকে এখন বলা হচ্ছে HEI. So HEI as a part of multidisciplinary education. So এটা মনে রাখতে হবে, যেগুলো higher educational institution, সেখানে এখন multidisciplinary educationের কথা এসে যাচ্ছে। মানে it is not just doing physics, chemistry separately, but doing it all together. Biology, mathematics. আগে যেমন biology and mathematics used to be separate, but now lot of biology people are using mathematics. So there is a lot of multidisciplinarity that is used, and that is very important to do research. So we have to focus on research and innovation through what is called startup incubation center. So I think this is something that I want to elaborate. আমাদের আইসার কলকাতাতে আমরা এখন একটা ইনকিউবেশন সেন্টার করেছি, যেটার নাম হচ্ছে রাইজ, ওকে, রিসার্চ ইনোভেশনস ইন সায়েন্স এন্টারপ্রেনারশিপ। এই ইনকিউবেশন সেন্টারগুলো গভর্নমেন্ট ফান্ড করে। তো আমরা স্পেস দিয়েছি। এই ইনকিউবেশন সেন্টারস উইল হোস্ট হোয়াট ইজ কল্ড স্টার্টআপ. So startup is a company, incubation center is also a company, কিন্তু not for profit company. So there are two kinds of companies, private companies. So incubation center টা আমাদের রাইজ ফাউন্ডেশনটাকে আমাদের রেজিস্টার করতে হয়েছে কোম্পানি হিসেবে। But the startups are basically private company. They will come with an objective to translate some scientific discovery into product. Product মানে giving back to the market in some form. Giving back to the society in some form. So that startup incubation centers will be done. Then technology development center, what are called TDCs, centers in frontiers areas of research, greater industry academic linkage, and interdisciplinary research, including humanities, social science, etc. So these are many of the things that the multidisciplinary education will focus on. So one is startup incubation center. This is a very new concept. Most of the universities don't have. But if you go abroad, universities like Cambridge, Oxford, MIT, Harvard, there are many startup companies. In fact, their professors are also, whilst teaching, they're spinning off startup companies, because startup company is where you can show the proof of your research. Problemটা কি হচ্ছে, আমরা ল্যাব লেভেলে একটা রিসার্চ করছি, কিন্তু it will not be commercialized immediately because we are at a very nascent stage. So we don't know what is the cost, how we can market, who are my customers. Then this invention has to be converted to a marketable product. And that is what startup will try to do. Now, very often they may fail. That is the most likely scenario. In fact, world experience is that only 3 to 4% startups have been successful. But government is now helping the startups. Say, you have your research, you try to show. So, for example, আমাদের ইনস্টিটিউশনে ধরা যায় একটা রিসার্চ হলো যেখানে আমরা বলছি আমরা একটা কিছু পোরাস মেটেরিয়াল দিয়ে বাইরের যে কার্বন ডাইঅক্সাইড আছে সেটাকে আমরা ক্যাপচার করব। But how much of it can be captured at a large scale? What is the price? That we don't know. So you can start up a company, try to do that research, make that materials, and see how much you can carbon dioxide you can capture, what is the cost, and so on. Or let us say I have a research যেখানে আমি বলবো কার্বন ডাইঅক্সাইড থেকে আমি একটা কোনো কেমিক্যাল যেটা ভ্যালু অ্যাডেড কেমিক্যাল, I'm giving chemistry example because I'm basically a chemist, like methanol, formic acid, or formaldehyde, I want to produce. Okay, so এই প্রোডাকশন করতে গেলে যেগুলো লাগবে, so that is very important. আমি রিসার্চ করে হয়তো বার করলাম ল্যাব স্কেলে, but that is not enough. যে এই প্রসেসটা অ্যাকচুয়ালি ভায়াবল হবে কিনা যখন আমরা বাইরে যাব. So that is what the startup will try to do. If it succeeds, then the bigger companies will come, like Reliance, and maybe Aditya Birla. Big companies will come and buy the startup company. So that's a very important thing. So startup is like when you are not sure things will work out or not, that is when you do startup. When you have a technology which you are much more sure, then you can directly develop the technology and give it to the industry. Then you don't need startup. If a technology is already proven, এইগুলো করার জন্য ফ্রন্টিয়ার এরিয়াতে অনেক সময় সেন্টারের দরকার হতে পারে। and as I said, many of these will require multidisciplinary research. যেরকম একটা আমি ড্রাগ যদি তৈরি করে বায়োলজিতে আমরা হিউম্যান বিংস লাগাতে যাই, it is chemistry. Your drug is chemistry, but when you inject in the human beings, there is a biology required. So it's a very large chemistry biology interface. So many of these the national education policy is talking about. So what are the changes that will happen? And that is very important. So the present government অনেকগুলো prioritize করেছে in research and innovation. So one is to attract fund for research and innovation, administering funds, networking with the global financial agencies, project drafting, implementation, monitoring, evaluation. So this is very important that research and innovation is in a fund attract korte hobe. So one is, of course, government will give some money, but that may not be enough. Then how to administer this fund? Tarpore global financing, a fund pawar jonno there are global agencies with which how do you network and so on. Then obviously considering outstanding research as a prerequisite for education and development, the new policy suggests introducing changes in the present institutional and financing system of research and innovation in the country. So there's a lot of changes because we have to give focus on the R&I. So one major thing that this government has suggested is to start National Research Foundation. So this is a very new umbrella, one single umbrella, just like you have in the US, one single umbrella through which research will be funded. So this is to promote and expand research and innovation along with funding and seeding research in universities and colleges across the countries. So, sorry. R&D on a path of long-term sustainability and rapid growth, thereby broadening the existing research horizons and filling the existing gaps. So what are the gaps you have to fill up? Developing active research communities across disciplines to increase resource efficiency, both material and human. So it's very important to realize that the resource efficiency is also actually budget government has talked of 9 cities where all the institutional hubs will be kind of brought together. That is only for resource sharing. Many people are worried what will happen to the autonomy. কিন্তু আপনারা ভালো করে দেখে থাকবেন এখানে লেখা আছে autonomy will not be sacrificed. But what will happen is the resource efficiency and resources can be shared. Teachers can be shared. One can share the research facilities যেটা এখন হচ্ছে না. So that is the whole idea. The NRF will be established by an act of parliament, providing it greater credibility and legal authority to promote research within the country. The institution would be given an annual grant of rupees 20,000 crores, which is approximately 0.1% of the GDP, and is expected to be increased progressively over the years, considering the level of development in research. So institutions will have their own funding, which will also add to the government funding. That is why this 0.1% is very small, but this is only for the NRF. This 0.1% is only for the National Research Foundation. So that is one important thing that the government has announced about the NRF. NRF would also work to address the research-centric needs. Research-centric needs means funding across all discipline, building capacity. Research capacity. Many of the colleges and good universities do not have sufficient research capacity. Effective linkage between various stakeholders like researchers, industry, government. These are three very important stakeholders. We forget. Amra achi researcher. Then there are industries. And then, of course, there's a government. So we have to link them. In its initial phase, the institution will have 4 major divisions, including science, social sciences, technology, and arts and humanities. So NRF এর মধ্যে কিন্তু arts and এটা কিন্তু science শুধু নয়, even arts and humanities will be funded through NRF. So as I said, 4 divisions, which is the science, social sciences, technology. Technology is very important, and arts and humanities. Thus, catalyzing quality research and promoting a research-friendly environment will be the key goal of NRF, which will also ensure that quality research is rewarded and given due recognition through prizes, awards, etc. Focus on the multidisciplinary approach to education is what I'm talking. So it provides a greater leverage and academic freedom to researchers in higher institutions at different levels of research, including masters and PhD. These institutions should work to build stronger educational community, providing teachers and researchers the freedom to choose across all disciplines and fields. That is very important. Ajke koche chemistry teacher, they are only talking of chemistry. But you can actually go to biology if you have some ideas, go to geology or any other discipline. So across disciplines, you can build research. That freedom will be given. So departmental structure in terms of research will become weak. So that is one thing that is bound to happen in the NEP, because we are talking of interdisciplinary research. So this is a very significant change, which previously the existing system restricted choices for both researchers and faculty, forced them to work in a closed centric academic space. So this academic space will now become open. And that is, of course, all of you will agree, it's a very important goal, a goal that we should all try to fulfill. This is a very important slide in which I want to tell you, government is talking about 3 different types of research institutions. One is a type 1, which will basically focus on world-class research and high-quality teaching across all disciplines. Type 2 will focus on high-quality teaching with significant contribution to research. When type 1, like IIT and ISARS, it will be basically research universities. Type 2 will have a high-quality teaching. Of course, that is true even here, with significant contribution to research. I mean, researcher component ekটু কম থাকবে. And type 3 mainly it will be focusing on teaching. So there are many undergraduate colleges, they will actually come under type 3. I think this is very important. So there are research intensive universities, teaching intensive, and autonomous degree granting colleges. So quality research and teaching is something that is going to come up with in a very big way. Now, some of the things that you are interested. So NEP, as it proposes, it will offer different designs to the master's program. It will have a 2-year master's program as it is, but the second year will entirely be devoted to research. এখন অনেক জায়গাতে সেকেন্ড ইয়ারও অনেক কিছু পড়ানো হয়। আইসারে অলরেডি ইউ হ্যাভ এ 5-year মাস্টার্স ইন হুইচ দ্য ফাইনাল ইয়ার ইজ ডিভোটেড টু রিসার্চ। এখানে 2-year মাস্টার্সের মধ্যে একটা বছর এন্টায়ারলি ডিভোটেড টু রিসার্চ। দিস প্রোগ্রাম উইল বি অফার্ড টু দোজ স্টুডেন্টস হু উইল হ্যাভ অ্যাটেন্ড দ্য 3-year ব্যাচেলার প্রোগ্রাম। মানে ব্যাচেলার করে এসে এখন যে 2-year মাস্টার প্রোগ্রাম হবে, দ্যাট উইল অ্যাকচুয়ালি হ্যাভ এ চেঞ্জ। So I think many people have not realized this. All MSC's curriculum have to change. Then there will be also 1-year master's program, which will be offered to those students who will be completing a 4-year bachelor program with research. তার মানে একটা 4-year BS program থাকবে, সেখানে কিন্তু actually research component থাকবে, তারপরে 1-year master's program. So again they are of course tuning 4 + 1 5-year. There could also be an integrated 5-year bachelor's master's program with research, যেটা আমাদের আইসারে অলরেডি হচ্ছে বা আইআইটিতে যেটা হবে, আইআইটিতে যেটা হচ্ছে অলরেডি. In fact, I was also master's program student in IIT Kanpur. In fact, I went there after Asansol Ramakrishna Mission School directly to Kanpur IIT and through the IIT joint entrance exam. তো আমাদের অলরেডি 5-year integrated program ছিল. এখন এই প্রোগ্রামটা আমরা নাম করে ব্যাচেলার্স মাস্টার্স BSMS প্রোগ্রাম বলছি. সো এটা তো থাকবেই, কিন্তু কনভেনশনাল 3-year BSc পরে একটা 2-year মাস্টার্স প্রোগ্রাম থাকবে যেটা এখন আছে, যার ফাইনাল ইয়ার will be the student, will be the research. But there will be another kind of bachelor program which will come, which is a 4-year BS, যেটাকে BS প্রোগ্রাম বলা হবে, আমেরিকাতে এটা রয়েছে অলরেডি. তারপরে 1 বছর করলে মাস্টার্স পেয়ে যাবে, এবং এটা রিসার্চ হবে না, এখানে পড়াশোনা হবে, কোর্স থাকবে, কারণ এখানে রিসার্চটা ঢুকিয়ে দেওয়া হচ্ছে. সো আই হোপ ইউ আর আন্ডারস্ট্যান্ডিং, যেখানে 5 years সেখানে ফাইনালি একটা রিসার্চ হবে. সো বেসিক্যালি however you get a মাস্টার্স, 1 বছর পুরো রিসার্চ কম্পোনেন্ট থাকবে. দ্যাট ইজ দ্য বেসিক আইডিয়া. যেখানে 3-year BSc হচ্ছে সেখানে 2-year MSc ফাইনাল ইয়ারটা রিসার্চ, যেখানে 4-year BS আছে সেখানে অলরেডি BS এর মধ্যে রিসার্চ থাকবে, এবং 1 বছরের করলে মাস্টার্স ডিগ্রি পেয়ে যাবে. ওকে, then of course you can have a PhD degree. This will require a master's degree or very importantly even 4-year bachelor's program. So অনেকে 4-year BS program করে directly PhD চলে যেতে পারে. That's a big advantage, and I believe because of that 4-year BS program will become very popular. What it wants to discontinue is the existing MPhil program. So that will be completely off. The MPhil program will be completely off. Otherwise BSc, otherwise কি program থাকবে স্কুলের পরে? BSc, 4-year BS, 1-year masters, 2-year masters. I hope this is clear what I'm saying. একটা তো 3-year BSc থাকছে, তারপরে 2-year masters হবে, তার সেকেন্ড ইয়ারটা will be research. That is A. B is নতুন একটা ডিগ্রি শুরু হবে, 4-year BS followed by 1-year masters. 4-year BS এর মধ্যে রিসার্চ কম্পোনেন্ট থাকবে, and then there will be integrated 5-year bachelors BSMS with research. PhD degree will either require a master's degree or a 4-year bachelor's degree with research, but there will be no MPhil. So this is a very important academic change that you will feel, and that is what was talked about in the introduction, that there will be a lot of changes in the course curriculum. So the problem is in the course curriculum, how do you do it? Okay, so one of the things that is going to happen, and I think let me discuss, I don't have a slide on that. I'm going to something else, which I will tell with very little thing. See, when this program has been announced, there is something else that you may have realized has been announced, that is called multiple exit. I hope all of you have seen this, that there will be multiple exit. Now, what does this multiple exit mean? So let us say somebody is doing 3-year, conventional 3-year BSc program, right? So people are talking about a multiple exit. যে 3 বছর যদি কেউ ফিনিশ না করতে পারে, you still have to give a degree or something. So how will that be announced? So there is a lot of discussion that is going on, and I am part of many of the discussion groups. After first year, যদি কেউ 3-year BSc তে ঢুকে, at the end of the first year they want to exit, then they will get a certificate course যেরকম বলে. 2 বছর পরে যদি কেউ এক্সিট করে, they will get a diploma. 3 বছর করলে they will get a BSc degree, normal BSc degree. So these are multiple exit. Similarly, if you start a program of 2-year masters, you will be able to exit after 1-year masters, but then what degree will be given is not clear, because in the first year of masters program there is no research component. So we can't give a 4-year BS degree because BS degree requires a research component. So at this point they are not talking of exits here, they are talking of exits mostly in the 3-year BSc course, that there will be multiple exits because people may not like to complete entire BSc, they may get a job after 1 year. So this is basically to create more jobs so that people don't get stuck, people don't get overqualified for what they are and then look for jobs. So that is the main reason the multiple exits have come. There are a lot of questions. Will there be multiple entry? Yes. Multiple entry is also possible. But of course, entry always depends on the educational institution. So at the beginning, for example, in a 3-year bachelor course, one can enter at the level of 2nd year. One can enter at the level of 3rd year, provided the institution is satisfied that this person has got sufficient potential to complete. But quite clearly, even if we don't discuss about entry, even to have an exit, we have to see that our courses are properly done. For example, when you are giving a certificate course, you must have designed your course that first year for a sufficient material sekano hoyeche so that they can get a certificate. Or after 2 years, they can get a diploma. Today, our courses are not geared to that because we are only looking at the end product is at the end of 3 years. So we have to then look at the syllabus, and this is going to be a big challenge in many of the national education policy. Okay, while I do that, let me quickly say something about education. And of course, I'm going to talk mostly of the chemistry education. What is the hierarchy of the chemistry education and how it is helping the science. But science, of course, is very complicated because research, as you know, cannot be predicted. It is often by necessity, accident, or curiosity. And the leadership in education, and leadership in education is also not very easy to correlate. Because many people think that if you're educated, you're a leader. That is not true. I think we have lots of examples where leaders are born without formal education. So one of the things that the NEP is also asking this question, that how much of classroom teaching can enable leadership? So is there a format of teaching? Should not that be changed? The history has shown that many leaders have been born who have no education or practically limited education. I think I don't have to give name. Formal education is not required. Very close to our land, Rabindranath Tagore, who had not much of formal education and distinguished himself to be the leader in literature. Then there are political leadership like Akbar, for example, who literally did not know anything, but his leadership at that point of time, was in a very good. Lot of things that he started are very good. Gautam Buddha, I can give another example, who was a spiritual leader and without much of formal education. So formal education, whether it is required, that itself is a matter of debate. However, we normally agree that for science leadership, for research and innovation that we are talking of, we require some formal education. But here is the problem. Here is the problem. And this is a very nice quadrant that I want to show. So you have a quadrant. Is this slide seen? The Bohr quadrant, Pasteur quadrant. Yeah?
Yes, sir. Visible.
Yeah. Okay. So if you look at the y-axis, this is the quest for fundamental understanding. If you look at the x-axis, this is the consideration of use. So if you look at the Pasteur quadrant, this has a high science, high application. And this is what I call use-inspired basic research. So there is an application inspired basic research. So basic research inspired by the application. So that is what I call Pasteur quadrant. Then there is a Bohr quadrant, which is purely basic research. Niels Bohr, many of you have known, who has developed the atomic theory. And the Edison quadrant, where the fundamental science is low, but the application is high. What is important today when the students join a research and innovation university, research-centric university, is to bring them to this quadrant. And that is the big challenge. This quadrant is the real quadrant of innovation. So a point I must tell, what is the difference between invention and innovation? Invention is a process by which you gather knowledge. So what are the sources that help you to gather knowledge? Sources can be funding from the government. Sources can be nature. Sources can be human beings who help you to gather knowledge. It can be anything. Just like Isaac Newton, The story goes that Isaac Newton looked at an apple falling. So that's in nature. And from there, he made a discovery, Newton's laws. So that's an invention. That is not innovation. So there is a difference between invention and innovation. Invention is like a discovery. However, what is innovation is that after you have gathered the knowledge, are you able to give something back to the nature? So if you make a product, if you make a device which goes to the society, that becomes an innovation. So Louis Pasteur actually did that. If you can come up with a drug from your knowledge, that is innovation. But understanding how to make a drug is a discovery. But that is not the innovation. So innovation is exactly the opposite cycle of the invention. Invention is from market, which means from nature, you generate knowledge. Innovation is take that knowledge and give it back to the nature. I think so that is very, very important, that we have nature, we have innovation and invention. Okay? So these two things are kind of interrelated. But in India, we are able to do invention. Many times we have discoveries, we publish papers, but the innovation potentials are very, very low. So one has to actually do this. To do that, you require very good processes, very good teaching and research atmosphere. So if you look at in India, of course, high science, which is invention, discovery, is epitomized by the Nobel Prize. But if you look at the Indian or the Indian origin Nobel laureates, you have only Sir C.V. Raman, S. Chandrasekhar, Hargobind Khorana, and of late Venki Ramakrishnan. So these are the 4 science Nobel laureates. I'm only talking of science Nobel laureates. Of course, I'm not talking of Rabindranath Tagore or Amartya Sen and so on. But only the science Nobel laureates who are Indian or Indian origin. One can actually also include Emerson, who got this for the malaria, for working in India, working in Kolkata. But I have restricted to more recent Nobel laureates from India. And I think it's very, very important to realize that these are the Indian or Indian origin Nobel laureates. So, and only one of them has truly worked in India. That is Sir C.V. Raman. আমাদের কলকাতাতে ইন্ডিয়ান অ্যাসোসিয়েশন ফর দ্য কাল্টিভেশন অফ সায়েন্সে কাজ করেছে, নোবেল প্রাইজ পেয়েছিলেন। অফকোর্স লেটার হি মুভ টু ব্যাঙ্গালোর টু সেট আপ দ্য রামান রিসার্চ ইনস্টিটিউট। The rest of the Indian origin are actually from outside India. So that is a very serious problem. How do you change? Even to do invention. And then, of course, to do innovation is certainly another very important challenge. So there is a lot of science we have to do to catch up with the Western world. And that is a very important part that we have to understand. We need to catch up with the Western world. So ancient Indian science, of course, I'm not saying that ancient Indian science was bad. In fact, many of the very seminal discoveries like zero, number theory, it's very famous number that all of you know, Shakuntala Devi, Ayurveda, geometry, algebra, even computer algorithms actually existed in India long back, before even the Western world was there. But somehow we lost them. And I think that is one of the reasons that the NEP feels that to bring this back, we have to get the new way to develop education. The next few slides are basically on chemistry, so I will just skip them, but I'm going to come in understanding the multidisciplinary nature on a hierarchy of sciences. So is there a hierarchy of sciences? That is very important. That is, you build upon each other. So for example, most people think that the physics is built on mathematics. Chemistry is built on physics. Biology is built on chemistry. Psychology is built on biology. So that is very, very important to realize. But these are not equivalent relationships. Mathematics is clearly a tool which is heavily used in physics. But there are large parts of biology that make little or no direct application of chemistry. Parts of psychology that build heavily on biology are probably best conceptualized as parts of life science. So that is very important. Whereas all other fields within psychology are perhaps best classified as social science. So what I'm trying to say, it's very difficult to say what drives others. So today, maths is not just for physics. Maths comes in chemistry, maths comes in biology. In fact, you might have heard a very important field called data science today, which relies on artificial intelligence and machine learning. So they are used in biology because biology has a lot of data. So the hierarchy of science itself is breaking up, and that is a very, very important part to realize. Yeah, I will see then. So talking about chemistry, since I'm a chemist, I must say how the innovation spectrum, how the research has been changed in chemistry. If there are chemists here, they will understand what I'm saying, that the chemistry has been perceived mainly as a subject which is structure driven. That means you synthesize some structure, molecules and materials, and then try to find out what are the functions of this structure. So this is called structure to function driven. However, you have to break this traditional barrier, and the discipline-based chemistry you have to break, and one has to look at the chemistry in a very general sense. That we must first know what chemistry, what are the functions that we require, and then look at synthesis. So this is a very, very important policy. Yeah, I've already covered this. So what is important is to understand history of science. Of course, I'm not going to worry about it. And this is something that I would suggest that all colleges, universities should have one curriculum on history of sciences. How was the science discovered? So talking about chemistry, for example, oxygen, periodic table, atomic theory, urea synthesis, benzene, so many things, starting and ending with the quantum theories, for example, here, which have revolutionized chemistry. So one has to understand the history of the chemistry. That is very, very important. Then to do proper education, you must know what are the problems today. In fact, the frontier problems today are based on energy. So from sustainable resources. Sustainable mane hocche je form of energy which can be sustained. So solar energy, for example, then energies which are bio-waste, buildings which are energy efficient, then processes which are environment friendly, and so on. So there are so many things that one can do today which are very important, and one has to focus the research on this. Affordable healthcare, of course, you all know how important it is because of the coronavirus. Okay, so but unfortunately, many of these will require interdisciplinary expertise, which our students are not learning. They are only chemists, they're only physicists, and it is not that you can do everything, but you must learn everything. So I will end with some of the emerging areas of research and innovation, at least for the chemistry and biology. So as I said, important area is energy materials. So renewable energy, you have to develop materials which can create energy. Then you have to have a novel pharmaceuticals, drugs. So you have to search for a new and repurposed drugs. Today, in fact, a lot of people are doing for the corona, for example. And repurposed drug হচ্ছে সেই ধরনের drug যেগুলো already use করা হয়ে গেছে. So let us say their toxicity is already known. So it is very easy to use them for another purpose. So that is why it is called repurpose. Then one important renewable source today is the hydrogen energy. So how to use hydrogen and generate hydrogen to energy. And if you see why hydrogen, because if you generate hydrogen to water, it will give energy, but the water is a clean fuel. Water is a clean material. So the hydrogen is a clean fuel because it does not pollute the atmosphere. Unlike normal petrol or petroleum products, which bring you CO2, carbon monoxide, and so on. So coming to that, of course, you still have a lot of CO2 production. So how do you activate CO2 and get from carbon dioxide some molecule which is useful? Carbon dioxide is poison. In this, one emerging area of research that is coming up is called synthetic biology. So a very important part is that biology does a lot of these things. In fact, nitrogen activation, for example, does very easily nitrogen to ammonia. We struggle in chemistry. So to understand from the life process, enzymatic processes, and do chemistry synthesis in the lab is something called synthetic biology. So that is very important. And of course, the environmental protection is very important. And in the new normal after corona, when things are opening up, we have to make sure that we don't make the same mistakes so that the environment is protected. Innovative ways to carry out research in the new normal is going to become a very important part of the emerging research. So how do you do research in a new normal, which is innovative? So I think that's a very important research that is going to go on. I must end with the challenge to the COVID-19. Lot of challenges, as I said, environment, climate protection, technological innovation is going to become very important in the research and innovation, because now, just like this particular talk we are having online, it's a technological innovation that I don't have to visit and yet I'm able to address. So a lot of technological innovation will come up. Of course, more digitalization is going to be part of the scientific innovation. And then online education. That, of course, all of you know, all of you are teaching online now. So how do you teach on digital mode? So there will be a lot of innovations in teaching itself. So today we have just started, but the use of different kinds of tools to teach is a very, very important part. So those are what I call technology-enabled tools. And of course, how do you do laboratories in the immediate future? That is very important. Your laboratory is going to become very, very important. I will end with one slide on just telling what are the research that I do. So this is from my own group, which is started from NCL, IIT Bombay, and so on. And of course, we do electronic structure of molecules, reactivity, couple cluster. These are all basically development of theory. And then lots of good application and material science, like zeolite, hydrogen storage. I talked of hydrogen as energy. We are already working on hydrogen storage, but my group is mainly computational group, which does only theory and computation. And computation, I believe, is going to make a big revolution. Today already, you know, computer is very important. Online teaching is done by computer, but by computational chemistry, we mean something else, where physical theories are used in the computers to generate fast algorithms to solve complex equations. All right, so that is called computational chemistry or biology. It will predict structure and properties of molecules. It will predict reaction between molecules, how fast the reaction takes place, if it at all takes place. And then, of course, the dynamics of evolution, modeling new materials and biological activity. So new materials have to be modeled, and then the biological activity is also very important. So many of these computational chemistry can deal with today. So for example, even for coronavirus, people are able to do a simulation of the virus itself, how the virus is attacking, and that will help us in devising a drug. So there are a lot of possibilities of research and innovation in many of these things. All right, so I think I will end with some of my photographs of various sources, various places that we used to visit. I just want to say that, I want to acknowledge, of course, various sources from where I've taken about the education. But let me tell you, this something that I did not prepare is about the language that we talked about the school level. And indeed, national education policy has talked about languages. That is, one can have languages, vernacular language, of course, English, Hindi, and so on. So the mode of education in school level is extremely important. I did not emphasize in the school level education, but there is a separate para on the school level education. I mostly emphasized on the research and innovation in the higher education systems. I think that has been the philosophy, that has been my interest at least. And that is what I have covered in this particular talk. If, of course, you have questions on other aspects, but the two things I must say have been a very important change in research and innovation is the types of universities, the research-centric universities that I talked of, where innovation is going to become the key. So type A, B, C, categorizing them, funding, greater leverage to the faculties to do innovation. The second is multiple exit in the higher educations, multiple exit and multiple entry. So these are two very, very, if you ask me, two significant parts that I'm talking of the higher education. So these are the two significant parts which will change the practice. And the innovation essentially would mean all the type A institutions, which are research-centric, they must establish, they should establish the innovation complex. And I think that is a very, very important thing that I must say, otherwise innovation will not come. And this is a very new concept. So the startup innovation complex, technology development centers, as I told, those are the great thrust in the national education policy for the higher educational institutions. So education and research, I must say, at the end, must be integrated. So Ramakrishna Mission Belur, for example, is very good in education. It has also a good research component. I think both have to be improved with a great emphasis on research in education. So at least this kind of universities or institutions can become type 2 institutions, where significant education with a significant amount of research. All right. So every institution will try to position themselves. Of course, if you become type 1, that's even better, because that's a research university. So you have to actually get a university status and research university, which IIT, ISAR, central universities all have to become. So I'm very happy that somebody from Vishwabharati is going to address, and I'm sure he's going to address more on the languages, because Vishwabharati is a humanities, a very strong component is humanities. So we like to hear him. But at this point, I must again thank the Belur Ramakrishna Mission Vidya Mandir for inviting me for this talk on national education policy, and thank all of you for patiently hearing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Paul, for throwing us much light on various components of the national education policy and the structural changes that has been suggested in the proposed policy.